I'm Rabbi Patrick, and welcome to Kehillah. So first, Shabbat dinner and service at the Rabbi's Friday, January 23rd here in Midlothian. So we'll hang out. We'll light the candles, do kiddush, eat some challah. The rabbi makes you dinner. I mean, who does that? Like who invented that idea, right? It's so neat. So I make you dinner. I've already got a menu planned. I'm thinking Pan Asian for that Shabbat. But, if you have opinions on that, you can let me know. So we're going to do that. We'll have a little dinner, and then Robin and the Rebbitzin are going to lead service. So Rebbitzin will lead tefillah, lead prayer, and Robin will be helping along with the music. And I'll probably give some kind of sermon, and so it'll be great. So we're going to do that. Then the following week, Shabbat dinner at Pam's, more of a social situation. So this is where you get to actually be in the homes of our fellow congregants. Pam is in like the Three Chopped Henrico area. I'm in Midlothian. So that's going to be great. Pam has like cool girl house extraordinaire, has cats. It's great. You're going to love it. It's fun. Friday, January 30th. Then the next day, Shabbat morning, back at the rabbi's house in Midlothian. We're going to have bagels and lox and Torah study and some other things, and it's terrific. And we hang out in the tiki room because there's usually a smaller group there than you have at Shabbat dinner, and we're going to do some learning together. No experience required, right? Like it's in English. You don't have to worry about not knowing something. You can be like, I don't know who Moses is, and I'll say, well, that's fine. Like, let's just keep doing this. So that's a lot of fun. So Shabbat evenings are at 6. Shabbat mornings are at 10 a.m. that is. Then, okay, guys, this is a big one. Tu Bishvat Seder at, drumroll please, Second Arrow in Church Hill. So you maybe have seen some social media we've been putting out about this place called Second Arrow. Leah Johnson, thank you so much for making this possible for us. She's, this is a small business being opened by an incredible woman who's part of our community, and she's offering it to us. So we should use this space. I'm so excited. It's so neat inside. And like Jesse, some of you met Jesse at High Holidays. So Jesse, who's this creative genius who does interior design work and things like that. I know she had a hand in it. Leah's friend from like way back in the day did a bunch of art. So it's like, this is a thing. So we need to be part of this place. It's like a coffee shop meets community space meets physical therapy practice. And in Church Hill, because we're growing community up there, and we want you to be part of it. So, of course, it's Church Hill. So, of course, you would have the Tu Bishvat Seder. Okay, so that's going to be at 6 o'clock, Sunday, February 1st. Great stuff. We're going to have the 4 cups of wine. And by the way, shout out to Point 5, the non-alcoholic bottle shop in Carytown, for giving us non-alcoholic wine for people who don't want to imbibe. And we'll have regular wine too. Don't worry about that. So we're going to talk about our inner world and our outer world, and we're going to eat different types of fruits that help us to be grounded to the idea of our internal world and the land, which is great. So mystical, earth-based Jewish practice. And then, because, guys, the rabbi makes you dinner, we're going to have a wonderful plant-based meal, mostly gluten-free. I am so pumped about that. That just got posted on the website. It's going to be great. Okay. In the spirit of everything that I just told you, I suppose it would be great if we actually, started the darn podcast. So let's set our covenant. Let's set our intentions. Maybe you're going for a run. Maybe this is your morning motivator. Maybe you're stuck in carpool. Maybe this is better than what's on Netflix because they'll like green light anything. This is going to be about Tu Bishvat. This is going to be about the inner and the outer world and nature as our sanctuary. So, a prayer from the original Tu Bishvat Haggadah, Pri Eitz Hadar. Deep breath in, deep breath out. O God, who makes forms, creates, and emanates the highest worlds, you made the trees and grasses grow from the ground in the shape and pattern of these highest worlds. And this full moon is the beginning of your work to renew and ripen the fruit trees, to bring forth the fruit of the tree of life in the midst of the garden. May it be your will that our eating and blessing and meditating on these fruits will strengthen the flow of love and blessing over the trees, to make them grow and bloom for good life, for blessing, and for peace. May all creation return to its original strength, and may we see the rainbow rejoicing in its colors. And may all the sparks of divine energy, whether scattered by our hands, or by the hands of our ancestors, or by the sin of the first human against the fruit of the tree, be returned and included in the majestic might of the tree of life. And let us say, Amen. So, having just given you basically 4 minutes of commercials, I know a lot of you can't make it, right? And you can't make it for a lot of reasons, right? I don't want one of those things to be that you can't afford a ticket, because we've got volunteer tickets. So you need to just come get one. Like they're waiting for you. And this whole nonsense thing of, well, someone else needs them. Yeah, you're the someone else. So get them. They're waiting for you. We literally, it's crazy. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a rant about this, but we set aside free tickets for people. You'd be shocked how many people don't take, right? And they're there for you. If you gave $1 million one day and need a free ticket the next, works for me. It's all the same. Okay, anyway, I know you maybe can't make it to our Tu Bishvat Seder, so I wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of it. This isn't exactly what's going to happen at the Seder, because, you kind of want people to actually have the experience. You can't just, put everything on the internet. But this is a little bit of a Tu Bishvat workshop. And maybe what you can do is do this with your kids, right? There's lots of these Tu Bishvat Haggadot online. This just happens to be one that I put together. And you can eat some fruits and talk to your kids or talk to your friends. It's kind of a nice thing. Set up a large charcuterie board or a cheese board, fruit board. It's a lot of fun. So let's talk about the premise to all of this, right? So human beings live in two worlds. We have the world that's outside and the world that's inside. And when these worlds connect, that is what is called spirituality. That is when spirit connects, okay? So we have the outer world. This is jobs, kids, responsibilities, hobbies, right? The stuff that is outside of the flesh and blood that is you in this particular experience of being a human being. And by the way, if you're not a human being, I don't know what you're doing listening to this podcast. Maybe you're the overlords, maybe you're AI, whatever. Okay, so that's the outer world. Then you have the inner world. In the inner world is your hopes, your dreams, your fears, what Carl Jung called the shadow side. And what happens in life as we are going about this spiritual experience known as being a human, we go on these journeys, right? You were born in a certain place and then you left. You went to the school, graduated, and now adult time. You were in the marriage and then you left the marriage, and now you and the family have to figure out what happens next, right? These are all journeys that we go through in life. And what happens, if we're lucky, and I think that religion can help us to have these experiences in case we're not lucky, is that the outer world and the inner world connect. And we have an experience called the hero's journey, or true love, or an experience of the transcendent. That's what we do here. Like, that is what religion does, is that a lot of times we don't have those moments of connection. And our responsibility as spiritual leaders is to help people to have that. We facilitate the spaces and experiences possible so that if you're not going through your life having these oh wow moments all the time, you get to have them with us. That's really the purpose of faith communities on an individual soul level. So we have this holiday, this very obscure holiday called Tu Bishvat. And what we can do is we can use this holiday as a vehicle to connect our worlds together, the inner and the outer world. So that's what I'm hoping you'll be able to have. Tu Bishvat is a pre-rabbinic, possibly even pre-monotheism folk holiday whose origin is somewhat lost. The rabbis of the Mishnah, so you're talking about basically in the end of the first century, almost to 300, depending on kind of how you want to count it, they thought of this holiday, it's the first of Shavat, Echad B'Shavat, is the new year of the tree. The fruit tree that was formed prior to that date belonged belongs to the previous tithe of the year. And that's kind of what this is about. It's actually kind of an accounting feature. So the new year for the trees, though, according to Rabbi Hillel, who we tend to go with, is the 15th of Shvat. So this is where we get into this idea of Tu Bishvat. So there's this question of, is it the 1st, is it the 15th, whatever. We go with Beit Hillel on that one. Either way, we have this holiday that is about the tithing of fruit and about the fruit trees, and some people call it the birthday of the trees. Depends on how you want to look at it. And so let's take a moment and let's ground ourselves in this new moment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehekianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, the source of the universe, who has given us life and sustained us and brought us to this place and to this time. So first thing that you want to do, the Tu Bishvat Seder, you're going to need some wine or grape juice, and you're going to need some special fruit and nuts, which, okay, a joke that was made at one point. What is the favorite holiday of those people at Kehila? Obviously, it's Tu Bishvat, because fruits and nuts. Someone actually did make that joke. They meant it in a sweet way. I don't know. So you're going to need some juice or some wine. You're going to need red and you're going to need white. And you're also going to need these special different types of fruit. So I'm going to go through this sort of teaching, and you can make your grocery list from here. So what we do is we go through all of these different seasons. These are the seasons that we experience here on Earth. And then we eat the fruit and we drink the wine, and that teaches us a little something about what that season is, but also the seasons of our soul. So in winter, where we begin in this particular Haggadah, and they're different, all of them start and end in different ways. Same idea, though, facilitating a spiritual experience. So in winter, the ground is frozen, but we know it contains the life of the spirit below. So drinking white wine symbolizes winter's pale light and white snow. So you think about the potentiality of the frozen earth, right? Our ancient ancestors always had light-related holidays in darkness. We always had holidays that were related to the idea of bringing light to the world. Why? Because it's dark outside. We're terrified that the earth is going to die and that we're going to die with it. So Tu Bishvat is the first reminder that that is not going to happen. Right? Because we know that the world will get warmer. But until then, we honor the experience of the cold, dead ground by drinking white wine. And so you would say the blessing. And if you don't know it, I'm going to tell you right now. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagefen. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, source of all being, creator of the fruit of the vine. Which, by the way, some of these translations are a little more poetic, but, we're friends. You get it. So what's the first fruit you're going to eat? You're going to eat something that has protection around it, right? So a shell of some kind. The shell which conceals the fruit protects in the way that the cold, dead ground actually protects. And we know what that feels like. In the world of school and work and everyday activity, our spiritual selves require protection and nurturing. Sometimes we put a shell around ourselves, right? Maybe we have a tough heart that the Torah says we need to circumcise our hearts. But these outer shells protect our feelings. They protect our hearts. And so when you eat the fruit, right? So if you eat like a pistachio or a banana, something like that, something that has a harder outside and a smooth, soft inside, may we find healing in our physical lives, in our relationships with our bodies, in our strength, in all matters physical and practical, and in our environment. And so then you say the blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, source of all being, creator of the fruit of the tree. So you can also then, as you're eating whatever these particular nuts or fruits for you, the ones with the outer shell happen to be, you have a discussion. So I would ask you, in what ways do you conceal yourself from the world, right? As you're eating that pistachio and you're having to crush open that harder shell, in what way do you have that outer shell that conceals something about you? And in what ways does that concealing protect, right? How does it keep you safe? Because that's why it's there, right? But also, in what ways does it harm you? Okay, because sometimes in life we create these outer shells as a survival tactic, right? We needed that. We need that way of staying safe. Okay. Also, though, those things can harm us because maybe we go from surviving to thriving. And in a thriving type of environment, that outer shell doesn't work very well. It's a thing, right? So think about that balancing act of protecting oneself, but also hiding oneself. And then when you're ready, you can move into the spring. So what you do is you take another glass of white, but you put a little dash of red in it. So maybe it's a very light rosé color at that point. And you might say, as we drink the second cup of wine or juice, white with a dash of red, may we, like the flowers, blossom into our full potential. We add a bit of red wine or juice to the white, and you say the blessing together. And then you're going to invert the fruit, right? So instead of hard on the outside, soft on the inside, you're going to do soft on the outside, hard on the inside. This is symbolizing how in the springtime, we will forget our protective attire, right? We take off all the heavy clothes, and we expose our soft bodies to the sun, right? Now, still, even though we no longer have that harder outside, the fruits contain pits, okay? And they remind us that we may still have hardness around our hearts. Despite the wondrous expressions of our spirit, each of us is still tied to the hard stone of an ego. We still feel the need to protect what makes us vulnerable. And that's what this is about. So in the spring, there is warmth, there is joy, there is liberation, right? The cold, dead earth gives way to the birth of trees, the birth of the grass. It's very important to think about the idea that holidays around this time tend to be about liberation. So think about Passover for our Christian friends. Think about Christmas. Not Christmas. Wow. Easter. Again, this is about some kind of liberation, transcendence, right? Because you're leaving the cold and you're finally liberated into the warm sun. And yet, okay, there's still something that's holding you back. So think about how our ancient ancestors in the Exodus wanted to go back, right? Wanted to go back to Egypt. That's that hard thing on the inside, right? You've been liberated, but there's still this lingering something, all right? So you eat the fruit after saying the blessing, and you ask yourself, in what ways do you have a pit in your heart? And where does that come from? And also, a really good question in general is, what does that do for you? Like, how is that part of your story? How does that lend to some narrative that you feel you need to follow, right? Like, they always hurt me, right? That could be a narrative. Or I'm always out of place. That could be a narrative too, right? And what would it be like if you didn't have that narrative anymore? Like, what if you just decided, no, the world doesn't hurt me? Right? Sometimes bad things happen, but the world's not out to get me. What if you decide, no, my friends actually are my friends. I don't have to be afraid of them. I don't have to believe that they're, thinking less of me. And then you could start asking yourself other practical questions like, maybe I'm not my job. Like, maybe I could just sell shoes. Like, maybe I could just bake bread. Why not? Do I have to be like, am I, like this person that's talking to you right now? Like, am I rabbi? Am I rabbi forever? Like, could I just, make hummus and deliver it to your house? Like, yeah. But what is it about those identities? What is it about that thing that we think we are, or that life that we think we have to live? Where does that come from? And what does that do for you, right? Like, if I have this title rabbi, what does that do for me? And if suddenly I said, I want to sell shoes, right? Or I want to do podcasting, like, well, so what, right? What would happen? What is it about a title, an identity, an orientation, a clan, a culture, a whatever that helps you to live out this story that you think you have to live out? That could be a good one for you, right? What would being kind of liberated from that feel like? So we've done winter, spring. Now we're in summer. So now we invert the juice. So we drink red wine with a dash of white, reminding us that as the land becomes warmer and warmer and the colors of the fruits deepen as they ripen, so too do we become warmer and more open. Right? Think about the summer parties, right? Think about 4th of July. 4th of July is actually one of my favorite holidays because I love the smell of the grass, watermelons, fireworks, right? So we invert the fruits or invert the juice. We do the red wine, right? Dash of white. We say the blessing. And then we eat soft fruits. Okay, so these are things that are fully soft. And we eat these soft fruits to remind ourselves to relinquish both our shells and our stones, right? The two things that we've encountered so far. In our deepest relationships, may we be like these fruits that are in front of us, the ones with no inner shell and no outer facade, right? That's the hope. We can truly just be. And may we find healing in our intellectual lives, in our minds and in our thoughts, in the heat of the passionate argument and in the light of a brilliant insight. Okay? Just being, just knowing that you are good enough, just as you are. There is no one you have to be. There is nothing you have to do. You just have to live your life and do mitzvahs, right? That's it. That's it. So we have a little bit of fruit, and then a great question, what would truly letting go look like, right? If you didn't have the outer shell or the inner stone, what would it mean for you? What could allowing both your inner and outer worlds flow through you be like? Like, what would it be like if you just went for a walk in nature and you just said, I'm just letting it all go, right? I'm not gonna be that person anymore. That doesn't help me. Sure, like that helped with surviving during that one time and whatever, but now I can do something different, right? I can show up to life in a new kind of way. What would that be like for you? Probably scary, right? Like the things that helped you to survive, the things that helped you to be successful, the things that helped you to gain the notoriety that you needed, the things that, helped you in school, in work, in your family of origin. Yeah, right? Letting go of some of that stuff if it's not truly working for you anymore. Yeah, that'd be tough because you'd have to learn a whole new way of being oriented in the universe. That's okay. That's what rabbis are for. So think about that, and then we end in autumn or fall. Some people are autumn people, some are fall people. I go back and forth, call it whatever you want. But the pure red liquid, right? So this is the opposite of winter. The pure red liquid represents the full bloom of nature before the cold. As nature expends its last bit of energy and an explosion of colorful leaves, a full cycle is completed. A little bit sad to say, but this kind of reminds me of when a person is dying, right? They always have this rallying moment. Like it's like a week of just being incredibly insightful and energetic, and sometimes people think that means they're getting better, but it's actually the beginning of the end. So autumn is the beginning, where everything is beautiful, of the end, which is the death of those plants and the hope for the rebirth of spring. So as we drink the fourth cup of pure red wine or juice, may we become strong like healthy trees, with solid roots in the ground, and with our arms open to the love that surrounds us. And you have a little drink and no fruit, because this sort of idea is the spiritual plane that cannot be represented. And in this plane, we become aware of God's love, mercy, and wisdom, perceived with our hearts as opposed to our senses, right? So we've been eating all of these different fruits to try to ground us in a teaching, but now we're transcendent. Now we don't need those tactical objects. Our hearts are full, and we praise the source that renews all creation. And the reality is we live in all of these realms at once, because sometimes we have hard shells, sometimes we have a rock inside us, sometimes we're soft all the way through, and sometimes we are so connected with the Holy One of Blessing that we kind of melt beyond our bodies altogether. And my hope is that we find blessing in each of these four ways of being, each of these four seasons, in each of these four worlds. So I'm going to end with a little bit of a blessing. So some of us, we don't go to synagogue. Like, we're not those people. And so that's okay. But where do we go? And it turns out that nature can be our sanctuary. So I'm encourage you, do some version of this Tu Bishvat Seder. Come to the Seder we're going to do, or not, or do this with your family, friends. And if you need resources, let me know. I'm happy to send them to you. And when you get to the end, think of something like this. Master of the universe, grant me the ability to be alone. May it be my custom to go outdoors each day among the trees and grass, among all growing things, and there may I be alone and enter into prayer to talk with the one to whom I belong. May I express there everything in my heart, and may all the foliage of the field, all grasses, trees, and plants awake at my coming, to send the powers of their life into the words of my prayer, so that my prayer and speech are made whole through the life and spirit of all growing things, which are made as one by their transcendent source. May I then pour out the words of my heart before your presence like water, and lift up my hands to worship on my behalf and that of my children. May it be your will, O God of our ancestors, that through our eating of the fruits you have created, the trees will be filled with the glory of their ability to renew themselves for new blossoming, from the start of the year to its end, so that our lives too will be renewed and filled with goodness, blessing, and peace. So that's my hope for you. So you're like, yeah, I'm not like a synagogue, whatever. Okay, that's fine. So go out in nature. This prayer from Rebbe Nachman of Bratslav is perfect. It's exactly it. Have this Tu Bishvat Seder. Have it with your friends and family. Go out in nature. I know it's a little cold right now, but I think you can bundle up. Go to Pony Pasture. Go to a local park. Go to Pocahontas, wherever you want to go. Have that experience. Look around and know that you're in a sanctuary. You're in a sanctuary created by the divine, of which you are part. So, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Happy Tu Bishvat. Hope we'll see you at Shabbat dinners, or see you at Torah study, or see you at our Tu Bishvat Seder. Again, what you just heard, a little bit different than how we're going to do it at Tu Bishvat at Second Arrow, but it's going to be great. Thanks so much. Our friends at Second Arrow just opened, and you need to know about them. Second Arrow believes in the warmth of coffee, tea, and community, a place integrating yoga and physical therapy to meet RVA's need to heal from injuries or work to prevent re-injury. Best of all, they do it together. Learn more or book a class at secondarrowrva.com or visit them at 2200 Carrington Street in Church Hill. Grab something to drink and a gluten-free pastry. Yum, they're delicious, actually. That's secondarrowrva.com. Thanks, Second Arrow, for hosting Kahila events. Remember, you matter.